All right, I'm sharing a link in the chat for everyone. If you have any questions along the way, we actually have a small time at the end to address all of your questions. So while we are going through the actual session, if you have any questions, you can just put on this link. I've just placed a link in the chat. You don't have to log in. You can just put your question in the questions column, and then we will come to this towards the end. So if any questions come up in the during the session, we encourage you to put it there, so we can go back and look at those towards the end. All right, so back to the slide. This is our agenda. So we will quickly introduce the speakers. Me and Haitham are co-presenting this session, and then we will jump into, actually this session is more focused on the history, why there was a need of agile practices. So we will quickly see what were the practices that were in place before Agile Manifesto was signed in 2001. Yes, Mahmood, please go ahead, sorry. Mahmood, you want to say something? All right. Okay, so once we see what kind of practices were already in place before Agile Manifesto was signed in 2001, and what kind of challenges people were facing at that time, what kind of solutions they came up with to address those challenges or issues, and then what was the actual need of agility, why Agile was needed in the first place. And then we will connect this with the Agile Manifesto, and then we will discuss quickly what is next in this series. And then we will come to your Q&A session towards that. All right, so I will start with introducing myself. Me and Haitham actually both are part of this community, Lean Agile Bahrain on meetups. We are organizers there. I'm based in Bahrain. I consider myself as a knowledge worker. I did my MS in IT and I started my career as a software engineer. I have about 15 years of experience in the IT field, from developer to solutions architect to tech lead and then project manager. I've been working a lot with fintech and banking clients in the region. And on the side, I have done a lot of work in Scrum and Agile. I'm an Agile trainer based out of Bahrain, and I'm a professional Scrum Master. And I do a lot of sessions on Agile coaching since I'm an enterprise Agile coach as well. And I've done a lot of certifications in project management, Agile coaching, professional coaching, and team facilitation. This is my quick introduction. And my LinkedIn profile is there. I would be happy to connect with you and take it forward. Haitham, if you can quickly introduce yourself as well.
Yes, so I'm Haitham Ahmed. I'm CTO in Decoding Egypt. And my role actually in Decoding is actually aligning the values and the strategy of the company with the execution teams. And I have 15 plus years of experience in product development in different domains like healthcare, governmental projects, banking, and telecom. And I am knowledge worker as Jamil. And I have experience in product management. I have done coaching to startups and have master degree in business information technology. Also, I'm a certified Agile product owner. And also my deep experience actually in technical experience. I was chief architect and architect for many years and also tech lead. So I have very wide experience in applying technology and technical agility to serve the business agility. And also I have knowledge about Agile practices. I'm a certified Agile coach and a certified trainer. And also I have been working with a lot of frameworks like Scrum and Scaled Agile framework. I don't mean safe, I mean scaled frameworks in general, like LESS and others. So this is actually a brief about my experience.
All right, thank you, Haitham. So the practices that were in place before Agile Manifesto. So I think Haitham is going to start with the first one.
Yeah. So actually, I'm going to speak about Out of the Crisis. Out of the Crisis. This is actually a book. It's not a practice. But would you please, turn the slide, Jamil?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, Out of the Crisis actually. This is actually a story that is actually it's not an experience, actually not a story, it's an experience that Edward Demings wrote after the War II. Japan actually was actually hit by Hiroshima a bomb actually, and there was actually a huge disaster in Japan. Okay, so there was no resources. There was poverty actually, and there was a huge debt in Japan, and there was a rebuilding process in Japan, and it was led by America. And Edward Demings was part of this rebuilding process. And the point, how Edward Demings contributed in Japan's industry revolution is actually huge. And his thoughts actually was about improving the quality of the products. So he had done system thinking where he thought about if the quality is improved, then the costs will decrease, and because of course there will be less rework and fewer mistakes, and this will improve the productivity, and then you can actually provide something to the market with a competitive advantage, which is quality, and by this you can provide more jobs. Okay, so Japan has no way out of the crisis, because except doing actually things with huge quality, because they don't have money and they don't have resources. Edward Demings' thoughts was highly accepted in Japan. He shared actually these thoughts with the American industry, but in that era, America actually was leading the industry, and there was no competition. But for Japan, there was no resources, and they don't have except to do things with perfect quality. Edward Demings actually, in his case study, he was speaking about, and this was actually 1950. There was a cooperation between Mazda and Ford to actually manufacture the transmission system. Okay, and what they have noticed that the cars with the Japanese transmission system in America, it's much more sold than the American ones. And when they have studied this, they saw that they are actually following the same specs, but actually in the specs there is certain variance. And the Japanese transmission system, it was built in a way that the quality is actually like a flawless quality. So that's why the customers liked the Ford cars with the Japanese transmission more than the American transmission. And this is, of course, if you have this built-in quality, then you can have more work and more demand. Okay, so Edward Demings, and actually this is actually he wrote these principles. And speaking about this principles, he wrote, we have the book Out of the Crisis in 1982. However, this principles was applied 1950 onwards. So he was speaking about breaking silos, fearless culture, continuous improvement, and built-in quality, and leaders that are supporting workers or knowledge workers, and to have people that are proud of their work, and they are delivering something with a high quality and high standards. So he actually wrote these principles, and the principles are considered the main principles of agility. So Edward Demings is considered the father of quality, the father of system thinking, and the father of agility. And this has actually inspired a lot of industries like Toyota, Sony, and others. To say about, there's something that I have to note, that Toyota Corolla actually has or Toyota, so the company, they were awarded the Edward Deming's prize. This was 1965, because they are following continuous improvement process. So this is actually to highlight how the built-in quality and how having such culture was very, very important to stay competitive in the market, even if you don't have money, even if you don't have, if you don't have resources. So this is one thing that I would like to highlight from history, and we can move next to another practice. And this is actually a practice which is very famous. Maybe it's not famous because it's not used, but it is actually the origin of Scrum. So this is the new product game, product development game, and in that product development game, it was actually published in 1986, and it was speaking about a case study where Honda actually was thinking about a new car for the youth, and it was actually a Honda City. And in that project, there was 6 principles that was applied in that project. First one is built-in stability. Actually, in this built-in stability, the managers, they have put certain high-level targets, and they leave the team autonomously think about how to achieve these high-level targets. And for the Honda City project, they told them that they need a new car for the youth, and this car should be affordable for them, and it shouldn't consume much fuel. And then they have left the team to think about this. And in that project specifically, there was a self-organized project team where you have engineers, sales, and so on. They are working together to achieve that goal. The development phase, it wasn't like stages. No, everybody is working with each other, like in Scrum or in Rugby, and they were thinking together. Engineers can meet the customers to understand more and so on. So there was multi-learning in that. This means also that it wasn't a chaotic project. There was subtle control, where the high-level managers have checkpoints to check what is the status and give support. It's actually the checkpoints not to judge, more than to support the engineers to reach finally their project. And finally, when they have finished this project, they started to transfer this knowledge across the organization. So this is actually the practice, the new product development game, and actually it gives a lot of insights to the next famous agile practices. And I will leave Jamil to speak about the practices that was impacted by such ideas.
Sure. Thank you, Haitham, for the brief intro on these. So if you notice, these 2 things were kind of major developments in the world when it comes to the road to Agile itself. So this new product development game is something which was very important. This was an article which was published on Harvard Business Review in 1986. That kind of triggered a lot of ideas for other people who are working in the field, and they were facing a lot of problems with traditional project management. And this triggered those people to start thinking about new ways or new methodologies, come up with different frameworks and different ways of working to address those issues. So this was kind of a very important breakthrough that happened with this article in 1986. So based on these, we will talk about the first one, which we took as an example here, XP, extreme programming. So just to highlight, some of these things will sound like more related to IT, but this is how it started. Back then, after the article was published in 1986, a lot of IT people especially started coming up with these kind of ideas and new frameworks, and it started from IT. But then if you see, it gradually transitioned to other industries as well, and Agile is now applicable on a lot of other industries, not only on IT itself. But since we are talking about the regions of Agile, we will be discussing stuff that happened in IT industry. So after 1986, the new product development game article was published, and it came up with some ideas that made some other IT people who are working in domain start thinking about new ways of working, new ways that were different from traditional project management. Two people in particular that I would like to talk about. One is Kent Beck and the other one is Don Wells. These two guys were working in Chrysler. If you know Chrysler, this is an automobile company. It's actually the third biggest automobile organization in the US right now. So they were working in early 90s on a project which was a software development project in Chrysler. And when they joined the project, they faced a lot of issues. They noticed the main problem with the teams itself. The teams working in Chrysler, there were three main teams working on that particular product. And they noticed all three teams were actually working in a competition sort of environment. So that means they were not only working in a collaborative environment, they were not working in a team configuration. So there was no teamwork. There was no collaboration. There was no communication. And as a result, they were working in different directions. That was the main root cause of all the problems they were facing in that project. So as a result, the project was getting late. They missed the deadlines. It was going over budget. There was no quality, and there were a lot of other issues as well. So these two guys, they started working on ideas how to improve, and they took a lot of inspiration from that new product development game, and they came up with these 5 values. They said there needs to be a lot of focus on how to communicate within the team during the project itself. The constant communication should be there, and there should be clear communication, clear and timely communication, which is very basic and most important thing when there are multiple teams working on the project. And then they said everything needs to be simple. So there was a need to simplify a lot of things, the way the things were happening, and feedback, courage, and respect. We'll come to these in a bit. So what happened was they introduced these 5 values and they implemented these. And then along the way, what they did was they broke the project down into smaller iterations, and they started to roll out the frequent releases. That was their prime focus. And the other thing which they cut was, which is written on the top, they said everybody in the team is equal. Okay, and so there are no managers and no juniors and seniors. So those hierarchies, they try to break those hierarchies. So everybody, even if he's a manager or he's a client or he's a development team member, they were all equal partners in a collaborative team. So in one collaborative team, everybody is working together as a team member. What this did was it empowered the team, and it brought in the client who was considered outside the team at that time. And along with the frequent releases, what it did is faster rollout. And then they also introduced a few new techniques which are very common now in IT industry, especially pair programming. And then they used a new technique. They introduced actually new technique, which is test-driven development. So they would do the unit testing of the builds early on, and then show it to client, get their feedback, and they have test results and the client feedback, and they will build the next release on top of that. So test-driven approach and pair programming were 2 new techniques that were also brought in as a result. And once they started implementing this, they started tracking the progress, and they saw the productivity and the quality of the product increased by 6.5 times in just few months after implementing these values. And they noticed the team was now more working as a team instead of going in different directions and working in a competitor environment where the teams are competing with other teams. Even though they are working on the same project, they were working in a more collaborative way. They were more synced together as a team, and they were that helped make things a bit more simpler, and they were able to roll out the releases much more quicker and faster with better quality. And then this basically happened in 1995. And then they kept on experimenting this philosophy of teamwork and empowerment. And then in 1999, Kent Beck basically published first book on this whole methodology, which they came up with, and they named this as extreme programming, which is now called XP. The first book on XP was published in 1999, and these two gentlemen that I mentioned a bit ago, Kent Beck and Don Wells, these two were among those 17 people who met in 2001, February 2001, and they were the signatories of Agile Manifesto. So this actually inherited a lot of concepts from that article that published in 1986. So there is a connection with that, and if you see, a lot of things are actually aligned with the Agile principles that we learn today as part of Agile. So simplicity, empowerment of the team, communication, continuous feedback, and adopting your project based on the feedback. So there are iterations and smaller releases, faster rollout. All of these things are actually aligned with the Agile principles as well. So in short, they broke the project down into smaller iterations so that they could roll out the releases early. They did the testing up front. So they used more of a test-driven development approach, which we call TDD as well. They introduced pair programming, and they empowered the team and let the team take decision. So team took the center stage in the whole process. So this is more about extreme programming. There is one more framework which I would like to highlight here, which again became very popular back in 90s, and it still is very popular, Agile framework, Scrum. So again, it goes back to 1986 with the same article. When the article was published by Harvard, it was called New Product Development Game. And in that article, there was one specific term which was used. The term was Scrum. So the example is, if you know rugby game, it's a game which is usually played in US and UK and Australia. It's like football but different. The idea is, if you see the rugby game, all the team members, all of them, they huddle together and they surround the ball. And the idea behind this is they protect the ball and disallow the ball to be pushed back and forth. That is what they call Scrum. So again, that Scrum word was mentioned in that article, and other two people working in IT industry, they also got inspiration from this article, and they started working on the same thing and took it forward and came up with another framework which is called Scrum. The two gentlemen were Jeff Sutherland and Ken, and they basically were, so in the environment they were basically working on a project on Honda, and they were facing a lot of issues with the team itself again. And they wanted to come up with something that would address the issues they were facing in the team. So teams were not empowered. Teams were pushed, and teams were told what they need to do and when they need to do and how they will have to deliver things. So there were very strict command and control processes and practices in place that were making the teams burn out. And as a result, there was less productivity, higher amount of discouragement, discommitment, dishonesty, disrespect, and all of these problems were there. And that would impact not only the productivity, but the quality and the whole organization itself. People will leave the jobs, people will not stay in the job, and there was a lot of toxicity in the organizations. So these two gentlemen, they were working in these kind of environments, and they started thinking after 1986, after this article, and there were a lot of, if you go back to 1990s, that a lot of people were coming up with different frameworks. We just saw XP. That started happening in early 90s, and towards mid 90s that became a bit mature. And towards 99, we had a first book published on with the name of Extreme Programming. So there were a lot of people coming up with these kind of different ideas. So these two gentlemen, Jeff and Ken, they focused primarily on how to empower the team. And their main agenda was how to make the team self-organized. That was their main focus. So they came up with a kind of framework which was based on 5 values, 3 principles, and 3 pillars and 6 principles. And if you see, most of them are about commitment, courage, focus, openness, respect, transparency, adoption, self-organization. So all of these things are basically related to the team. So this framework is mainly focused on the team itself, how to make the team more empowered, more self-organized, how the team can become more collaborative, value-based, and open and respectful to each other. So in 1993, these guys came up with a process, and they named that the Scrum development process. They published a white paper by the name of the Scrum development process in 1993. We call it the foundation kind of Scrum framework. And then they just basically discussed about how the teams can be made a bit more self-organized and empowered, how we can leave the responsibility to the team itself to decide what kind of tools and processes and techniques they want to use on the team instead of forcing it down their throat by the management, and then push them to do it. They will do it, but they will not do it like happily do it. So if you allow them to choose what is best, what they think is best for the project and how they want to do it, let them be self-organize on that, they will feel a bit more encouraged and empowered and happy, because at the end of the day, they are the one who are going to do the work. So that was kind of a basic skeleton of this framework. And then in 1998, they came up with the first definition of Scrum itself. So they've formally defined what Scrum framework is. And then they added some roles. So they introduced a role called product owner, and they introduced the role of Scrum team. And they defined what are the responsibilities of these two roles. At that time, we call it Scrum 1.0 because that was kind of first visible framework of Scrum. And then the product owner at that time was mostly considered as outside the team, and he would mainly focus on the business side of the requirements of the product. And then in so this basically happened in 1998. 2001, we all know February this month, 2001, we had the Agile Manifesto signed. So this was a major milestone that gave an overall guideline in terms of what Agile is, and that actually went into Scrum framework as well. So 2008, we called something as Scrum 2.0 when product owner so there were some changes made in the Scrum framework. Product owner was now considered part of the team instead of someone who is outside the team. And then there was new changes done in Scrum. We will see it in detail in the next episodes. And then 2009, 2010, we also got to know some other frameworks related to Scrum, how to scale Scrum. So SAFe came into place, Scrum at scale, and other similar concepts came in. So this is kind of a bit of introduction of what Scrum is. Again, the problem was how to empower the team and how to break the shackles of hierarchy. And they came up with these 5 values, 3 pillars, and 6 principles. And now we have a Scrum framework, which is now, as per State of Agile survey in 2021, Scrum is now the most widely used Agile framework in all over the world. About 83% of all Agile projects are being done through Scrum. So this is the most widely and most successful framework that is there in Agile as of today. So these are the few frameworks which we wanted to highlight. Next is the need of agility. I think so. We will basically discuss what was the historical need and what is today's need that demands the need of agility. So why we should start looking on Agile. and why people in past used to look towards Agile. So Haitham, if you could highlight the first one for us, please.
Okay, so I'm going to speak about the first two. Okay, so for the competition, actually, yani if you see that, and there's a lot actually of competition between the companies, and this is actually competition changes actually the context much. Okay, so for instance, if you check, there was phones, and then the smartphone came, and actually it changed actually the user experience and changed everything. And this kind of changes and the competition, it will actually drive any company to work. They should work very fast. Okay, so they have to be not only to be competitive, but also maybe to lead the competition. So doing this in a global environment, and you have many competitors, and you have to deliver fast, this is actually drive you that you have to be much more agile. Okay. And also the built-in quality. You have to be competitive, and you have to deliver something. And also this product that you're going to deliver, you cannot compromise the quality. Yeah, you have to make it. The quality is actually a very important competitive advantage. So if you deliver something with bad quality, it will have a very bad user experience, and of course you're going to lose the market. Okay, so built-in quality is very important, because actually it reduces rework, it makes the effort more effective, and of course, if you do this in every stage in your work, then finally you're going to deliver something complete and valuable. And this is something is very critical. You need built-in quality, because if you defer the quality, then you're going to do a huge inspection efforts, and this is actually will slow you down tremendously. So Jamil spoke about XP and how they use test-driven development, and we spoke also about out of the crisis, and how the quality was a very important thing. So actually in agility, you have to deliver fast, and you have to deliver with quality, and the quality has to be installed in every stage, in every delivery, or in every increment that you are delivering. Okay, so let's move next with Jamil about knowledge workers.
So basically, if you go back to, if you put yourself in some early 90s or mid 90s or late 80s, that was the time when people started thinking about new ways, how they can work more efficiently, how they can roll out things more quickly, how they can they can still achieve the quality while delivering quickly. So these three things, I think why we have put them here. There are other things as well to be mentioned, but these three things I think were the most important three things which triggered the need of agility. So as Haitham mentioned, if you go back to 90s, there were industrial wars between different industrial giants. If you know, there was a famous war in late 80s and early 90s between Ford and Ferrari. There is a movie on that as well. The idea is to outcompete the competitors from the market and capture as much as market as you can. That means if you are trying to outpace your competitors, you need to roll out faster products with better quality in way lesser time, and at the same time you have the limitation of resources and the budget as well. So how you can spend less time with lesser resources and produce more. That was the main focus behind all of these things that were coming up. And at the same time, built-in quality. And the third thing which was there was knowledge workers. So if you see early 90s, late 80s, the industry started to shift towards the knowledge workers. Previously, the focus was more on the skilled workers, where we have plumbers and mechanics who have skills. But then slowly, with the information revolution, there was developing need of knowledge workers. So your workers were become much more knowledgeable. We have engineers, and we had project managers and technical people coming into the industries. They were much more knowledgeable. They would rely on their knowledge instead of their their technical skills, and they, as a result, there was a whole new level of wisdom in the people. So with the time, with the information, with the technology, what happened was your workers, the people started becoming much more knowledgeable and much more um, advanced and informative. And that actually triggered a lot of change, because people started questioning the techniques that were already in place, the traditional project management things and all the limitations that were there with them. And that is why a lot of people started exploring other ways, started to come up with different new technologies or new methodologies or new frameworks or new principles. So they started to self-adopt, they started to innovate, and they started to come up with different things. So as the time was passing, as the technology was becoming more of a norm, as the information was becoming way more easier to access and way more common, the people's level and their skill sets, their knowledge started to increase. So there was a need to look for new ways that will help them deliver faster in lesser time with better quality, with optimal use of resources. So these three things we think are the driving factors that started people thinking towards finding new ways, and they eventually ended up, um, you know, signing the Agile Manifesto in 2001, and it's still work in progress. It's still evolving today. All right, so these were some of the historical things. If we look at the current situation, current market, we have listed 5 things that are kind of driving factors of why we need Agile. So first of this is VUCA world, which I think Haitham is going to explain to us. Haitham, over to you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so for the VUCA word, the word itself, it's actually stands that it stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Okay, so actually we are working in a world where the opportunities are volatile, means that you may say thousands of opportunities created and also thousands of opportunities killed. Okay, so and also when you see a certain opportunity, you are uncertain about its value. So you have to approach it incrementally to check its feasibility. Okay. And also there is a complexity about this opportunity, because this opportunity is linked with other opportunities as well. So it's very complex to understand how this opportunity and how the context of this opportunity and how it's going to be available. And this actually makes the interpretation of the opportunity is very, very difficult. It's ambiguous. You can understand it in many, many different ways. So, and this happening because, everything now is connected, and you have markets from different segments all over the world, and you have to be very responsive in that. So this is also drives us towards agility, that we have to deliver fast with quality and depend more about knowledge workers, because it's very difficult to understand something that is changing a lot and uncertain with a certain one. You need the wisdom of the group. And this is, of course, lead us to the second point that Jamil will describe, which is customer-centric products.
Thank you, Haitham. So customer-centric product, since we are in an information environment where every information is kind of very easily accessible on just tap of the fingers, what happened slowly over the years is the products are becoming more customer-centric. Because of knowledge workers, same apply to the customers as well. Customers now are much more informed and much more technical and much more knowledgeable than what they used to be back in 90s or 80s or 70s. Customer today doesn't want you to pay someone and then sit and wait for the product to be ready for him to start using it. They want to be involved in the process. They want to actually drive the whole product development life cycle, and they want to be engaged throughout the process. So which means there was a need to focus more on customer during the product development. So it's no longer a project where you just get the requirement from the product, from the client, and then you go into one full phase of 6 months or 3 months or 1 year of development, and then at the end you just go to client and show the product to the client, and the client will just approve. It doesn't work like that now. Clients are way more technical, and they are way more mature, and they are way more knowledgeable. They know what they want, and they want to be engaged, and they want to drive how they want to want the product to shape from word go till the product is delivered. Which means the whole approach of project management or product development has become more customer centric. So the customer has to take the central stage in the whole process. Every iteration has to be reviewed by customer. Their feedbacks become way more important than they ever used to be. And there are critical information that we need to for which we need to engage the clients throughout the process. So point is the customers are way more advanced now. They know what they actually want, and they are much more skilled and informative, and they take the central stage in the current today's modern day project. So the whole project management or product development technique has slowly changed to more customer centric approach, where customer is at the center of the product development. And in some of the organizations, like in my organization, we consider the clients as part of our team. That's how it's becoming in these days. So this is again ties back to Agile as well. Agile calls for continuous feedbacks and continuous learning and continuous improvement, for which client has to take the center stage. So this is already happening in today's world, and I think this is one of the biggest driving factor that why people are started looking more towards Agile, because client can anytime change his mind based on market condition or based on anything that is happening in the VUCA world. Any uncertainty can happen that makes the client think about, okay, how about we kill this feature and we add this feature. That room should be there in all the projects these days. That's why the more customer-centric approach is needed, which is aligned with Agile. Back to you, Haitham, for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, so for data explosion, previously actually there was limited data sources, but now we have a lot of data. Okay, so and our application is recording a lot of data, and also you can actually buy data from different vendors, and there's people specialized in that. And the point is that with this huge information and this huge data, you have to make a very swift decisions so that you deliver something that is customer-centered, and you have to reach the VUCA changes. Okay, so it's something very complex, and this has actually raised the need for artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other kind of things, so that you can interpret the data very quickly and to have informed decisions. So actually in agility, you need to do things empirically, and you have to do something and you have to measure what was the outcome, and you have to do this based on data. And having this kind of huge data, it gives you a pressure that you have to be very fast actually and adopt the latest technologies, so that you're going to take swift decisions, and then you have to measure it and assess whether you are in the right direction or not. And then back to you, Jamil, for the globalization part.
Yeah. So with the advance of technology, with the advance of information revolution, we know today we are not limited, and of course because of COVID as well, we are no longer localized anymore. That means we have technology is playing a big role. We are very interconnected, and we can target different markets very easily compared to what used to be the way a few decades ago. We are like a global village now. We have wider reach, and our products are going global now. We are no longer just focusing on one local market. Yes, there are exceptions, but generally the target audience is way more broad now. There are different demographics, different cultures, different regions that we are targeting with our products. Our products are becoming more global because of the wider reach and because of the use of technology. That means there are a lot more things to be considered while doing the project or while developing a product. There are demographics considerations, there are constraints to cultures and norms and different way people interact with the products based on their countries and regions. All of that needs to be considered. So that makes the projects more complex, more globalized. There is a wider range, wider use cases that needs to be considered. So it all adds up. Point is today, because of technology, because of digitization, because of digital disruption, which Haitham is going to highlight in the next one. Our products are no longer global anymore. Our projects and products are becoming more globalized, and they have wider range all across the globe. That has a lot of considerations and implications on the product development approaches. And again, this is where Agile comes into play and helps us a lot while doing these kind of complex projects. The last one is digital disruption. Haitham, please, if you can jump in.
Yeah, sure. So for digital disruption, as Jamil spoke about the pandemic, and the digital channel became a main channel. It's actually a main channel to deliver your core business. And if you don't have this digital channel, specifically in the pandemic, then your business will be doomed. It will die. Okay, and actually the digital channel has a different characteristics than other channels. It can be up for 24/7. You can make a lot of changes while you are delivering products. So actually it requires a very quick and swift actions to update and to check the customer centricity and to check the competitors and to provide something valuable that is addressing multiple markets. You're going to be accessible from different people, from different market segments, and you're going to have a product that should be scalable, and this will impact a lot of things about your architecture, your way of thinking, and your methods. Okay, so this is actually what we have seen, the historical needs and the current needs that is pushing towards that we have to move and adopt agility. We need knowledge workers. We need, because actually we cannot figure out the changes by ourselves. We need everyone to think about it. And also we need to have built-in quality, and we have to use digitization and data analytics so that we can have informed decisions. And by this, we can be competitive in the current market.
Sure. So see, the idea behind this slide was, what are the driving factors that make us think why Agile is needed, why there is a need of Agile. These are not the only things. These are some of the things which we consider are most important, but there are a lot of other driving factors as well. We saw a few from the historical point of view, and we saw a few from today's scenarios. Again, with pandemic, there are a lot of other things that are coming into play. The projects in general are becoming more complex, more broader, more digital, more diverse. And there is always a need of more competition. Since we are going global, we are competing against more competition. Our competition is also not local, it's global. It has wider reach. Our audience, target audience, our consumers, customers are becoming more wider all across the globe. And we have to consider different scenarios, different behaviors, different people from different backgrounds, they interact with product differently. So all of this is adding up, and the projects are becoming way more complex. There are new technological advancements like AI. We are talking about metaverse, blockchains, and all of these things. All of these are adding up, and there is more and more need of Agile moving forward. So that was the main idea behind this. And then we will come to the Agile Manifesto. After discussing why Agile is required, what are the driving factors, we will just briefly highlight this, and then the next session is going to be detailed discussion on Agile Manifesto. As we know, there are 4 Agile values, core Agile values, which were written in Agile Manifesto back in February 2001. This month, Agile turned 21. So we'll have a high level look on this, and then in the next session, we will discuss this. So first one is individual and interactions over the processes and tools. Back in the days when we were doing most of the projects in traditional project management, there was strict focus on following processes and tools. And all the organizations, they were mostly spending most of their energies and resources on implementing the right tools and the processes, and make sure that everything, all the processes are being followed strictly, and all the tools that are there, they need to be used. Even though they are adding an overhead, they should be used. Now the focus is more turning towards the individuals and the interactions, how they do the interaction, how they collaborate. Because there is a saying, tools and processes will not deliver the project. They will not develop the product. It's the people, it's the team who will develop the product. They will deliver the product. So the focus instead of focusing more on the product processes and tools, the focus should be more on the people who are going to develop those products. The tools and the processes, since we consider our workers, our teams to be knowledge workers, they are more mature, they are becoming more knowledgeable, they are becoming more advanced, they are becoming more intelligent with the technology, and everybody, even my kids, are tech savvy today. So let them decide what tools they want to use, how they want to build it, as long as we are meeting our targets and we have the client satisfied. Let them self-organize, let them decide what tools and processes they want to use. Yes, there are areas where project managers or scrum masters need to jump in and help them, but let them decide first. And then if you think that you need to step in and help them in a way, you can always do that, but let them self-organize, let them decide what they want to use and how they want to use it. The focus should be on empowering the team, trusting the team, show them the respect, and give them the space to self-organize. And this is the first and most important value of Agile Manifesto. There is a lot we can talk about this. Inshallah, we'll talk about this in detail in the next session. Haitham, can you update us on the second one?
Yeah, for the second one, working software over comprehensive documentation. Yani, I would like you to link working software with the built-in quality. Yani, working software means it's continuously working software. Okay, because actually there is something actually the developers used to say that it is working in my machine. It's not about this. It's about working in the client side, and it is continuously working. It's never down by any means. Okay, so built-in quality is in that product. And this means that since the built-in quality is there, I can do a lot of experimentation, I can do a lot of pivot and a lot of changes without compromising the quality. And there's something also important in that value. Working software over comprehensive documentations mean that you are adopting product mindset. You are delivering small increments, and then you are doing certain analytics, and you are checking whether you are customer-centric or not, whether you are delivering something valuable or not, and based that you are pivoting. And instead of thinking a lot and writing a lot of documents and so on, that wouldn't be relevant in the VUCA world by any means. Okay, so if you do this upfront thinking for a long time, whatever you have thought about, it actually will be irrelevant. So what is relevant is actually to deliver something and to experiment, and based on this and the analytics, you start to change and pivot and so on till you reach the right direction and deliver something that is already valuable to the customer. So this is a very important thing, and this is how it relates with the challenges and the need of agility. And let's move to the next point with Jamil.
So again, customer collaboration over contract negotiations. So previously, back in the days, we used to consider clients as cash cow. So we would just negotiate with them over the prices and all. That is no longer the case now. Clients demand the central stage, as we said, the more customer-centric approach. And that means the more engagement with the client, the more collaboration with the customer or the end users. It's not, when we say customer, it's not only the one who is paying, it could be the end user or anyone who is going to be using the product. So today's world demand more engagement, more continuous engagement, more closer collaboration with the customers. Their feedbacks are very crucial for the product development. And this is our third key value for Agile Manifesto. We are running over the time, so I will just leave it here. I think we have already discussed a bit about this, and we are going to dig deep into this in the next session as well. So back to you, Haitham.
Yeah, so responding to change, to make it short, actually, since you are going to be customer-centric, then you have to adopt a Kaizen culture or continuous improvement culture, so that you're going to change your outputs to make it an outcome, and you change whatever technology that you're using so that you're going to deliver something that is scalable and whatever non-functional requirements that you want to achieve. So since you have a moving target, like the customer, then you have also should have a moving processes, and you should have continuous improvement and continuous learning so that you're going to achieve your targets. So this is, of course, couldn't be happened in something that is working like that, very volatile and very uncertain, without the team's empowerment. Okay, so team's empowerment, having the built-in quality and having the customer focus and customer collaboration, then you should have the processes that should be adaptive and providing continuous improvement and continuous learning. Okay.
Thank you. So we have discussed kind of a brief history of Agile, and we have discussed the main 4 Agile values. This is the heart of Agile, and all the frameworks, if you see Scrum, XP, Lean, Kanban, all of these are basically built on these 4 core values, and they are tied up very closely with these. We are going to discuss a lot more about the Agile values and principles that were defined in Agile Manifesto in the next session. This will be announced in the meetup group and over WhatsApp and LinkedIn. And we are going to also discuss Agile organizations, why the organizations today chose Agile framework to deliver value to their customers. So this is going to be the follow-up session. I will leave it here. If you have any questions, I don't see any on Easy Retro as of now. But if you have any questions, any feedback on the session, any comments, just feel free to unmute and share with us. We would like to hear your thoughts about this. All right. Anybody from the audience?
Thanks to you, Hisham, for attending.
Okay, thank you so much for this interesting presentation. I personally worked with Agile and Scrum and Safe for many years, and I confirm that this methods allows the team to be responsible for the delivery of the products, to be self-organized. But I think that the management mindset have to change and adopt the principles of agility. The micromanagement can't persist if you want to deploy the agility. I think that the management has to work on that, because we still have this mindset of micromanagement that can and this shouldn't continue if you want to be really an agile team.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for highlighting that, Sana. That actually highlights one key point, which is about agile mindset. This, I think, is very important topic and needs to be discussed. And this is part of our plan as well. We are going to have a session down the lane that actually talks about agile mindset and how we can, as an individuals in the management or in the team, we can contribute to foster that agile mindset in our organizations. There is no quick solution to this, but there are still things that we can do in our individual capacity to start promoting that mindset within ourselves first, within our team, and then gradually towards the whole organization as well. It's a continuous process as anything else in Agile, and it requires time and effort. But the application of Agile values is limitless, basically. I've done a few events in past where we focus primarily on how Agile can be used in non-IT industries, because generally the perception is the Agile or Scrum is mostly developed for IT industry. That is not the case. I know people who are actually implementing Agile in a lot of non-IT industries. They are using Agile in construction. When I did PMP, my instructor told me that construction is kind of a industry where everything is a lean process, linear process. So you define, plan, construct, and roll out. But today there are people who are using Scrum in construction as well. So there are the application of Agile is endless. I can actually train my kids at my home using agile practices. I can have a Kanban board or Scrum board for them, and I can put the things there. And believe me, it organizes a lot of things. So we will come to this, inshallah. This is what we are trying to do here, to bring that awareness and connect with each other, learn and co-learn from our experiences, and see how we can work together to promote it in our organizations and slowly build up this community. Haitham, you want to say anything on this?
Yeah. You know, what I would like to say, Sana, that it is a very long journey, and you have to know this. The transformation is a very long journey, and this kind of transformations need to be broken down. Okay, so of course, I remember that I have worked with certain companies where I was like a co-coach, and we have spent like 4 years till we have changed the mindset for the management and to have the product mindset, not the project mindset, for certain products, it's not for the entire organization. And it is acceptable to have like hybrid way. So for instance, you are working in a governmental projects and it needs in certain parts to be waterfall. So it's fine. It's sometimes you can, it's not about using a certain practice. Much more is that you have to deliver value. So sometimes the context will make you work a little bit waterfall or a little bit agile, but based on the context and the value of the context, you have to choose the framework that is suitable for you. And we're going to cover this in the next session. But the point, what is my advice to you? And because I have seen this process before, that you have to choose a certain product end to end, where actually there's a change, there's a huge change happening. There's like a VUCA word changes happening in that product, and that product shouldn't be that complex, because complexity actually make the demonstration difficult. So you have to choose something valuable, a little bit simple, and it has to be end to end, delivering value or product or something like that. And you can start demonstration by that. So actually, if you have this choice, of course, you're going to speak, and the senior management has to sponsor this, and you cannot do this alone, because actually Agile is actually something end to end, or we name it global optimization. You have to do it from the start till the end, till delivering to the customer. You cannot do this in a certain silo, like in the development silo or the product or the business silo. I cannot do this. I have to do it. We mentioned that we should have a cross-functional team. So, and if you have silos, this is actually will make the transformation much more difficult. But the point is that how to champion this, how to have a center of excellence in agility in the company, and how you spread the knowledge and how to speak about this. And from that, maybe the senior management can be invited in that, and they may listen about this, and maybe they're going to be interested about applying this kind of framework or practices or principles in a certain product, and how to measure what was previously and what is actually done, and what is the gap, and how we improve things. By that, you get more sponsorship to transform other products. Okay, so it's a journey, and it needs a lot of collaboration between senior management and the people or the team members to finally adopt the change. And it starts with learning. And it starts with, if I learn something, then I will never resist the change. But if I know nothing about it, for sure I will resist the change.
Okay, thank you for your response.
You're welcome, Sana. Any other questions from anyone? I would like others to, if they have anything they can highlight. Okay, meanwhile, I have placed a link in the chat. This is our community on Meetup. All of our future events will be announced there. If you think that today's session was valuable, feel free to go to the event page there and leave your comments. If you think this is valuable and this is something good, I would encourage you to highlight or share this with your colleagues at your workplace, at your network, so we get more audience and other people also benefit. We are not trying to earn, or there is no financial gains out of this. It's just pure community work. We are agile people who love agile, who work in agile like you, and we are just trying to share our knowledge, connect with you guys, and learn from each other's experiences. That's the whole agenda behind this. So if you think this is good, valuable, please share it with others as well. So they also get benefit, and we slowly grow this community, and we get to see a lot more people in these events in future. Any closing remarks from your side, Haitham? Or if anyone else has to say anything, please feel free.
Oh, well, thanks a lot. I would like to thank the audience for coming, and I would like to thank you, Jamil. And I'm very happy and delighted to share my experience for sure. And we have like a vision to spread agility in Bahrain and in other places. And actually, I was actually an organizer for Agile Riyadh, and I see Ahmed Salama. He was actually one of Agile Riyadh attendees. So and also agility for me is something important. And we see that if we have knowledge sharing and so on, then I think the community will grow and grow, and we're going to have better work environments and better valuable products. And this is something for sure. That kind of environment is very, very fruitful for anybody working in that. So of course, we need you to spread this, and also if you have, I don't mind if later future sessions can be conducted by others. This would be good. So it would be like a space where we all think about agility and sharing our thoughts to develop the community knowledge.
Thank you so much for this event, and I really hope that we do it more frequently. I don't know if every 2 weeks or every month, I don't know, but I hope that we really do it more frequently to understand more the agility and to work with it in our company.
Sure.
Thank you.
So we have kept for start, we just kept it once in a month. We'll see as we grow. If there is a need, we will see bi-weekly. But at the start, we had one event in a week, in a month, not to pressure anyone. And then as we grow, we will see how to organize. So this is why I placed the link in the chat. If you can just follow the meetup group, all the updates will be available there. So the next episode will be placed there in a few days, and you can join that and share it with your network. Right. We are good to close.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for your time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, Haitham.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much. Okay, bye.
Take care.
Bye.